Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal News. Tonight's article comes from the New York Post. It's nypost.com. And the headline is Maybe Bigfoot Believers Aren't Crazy After All. It was written by Amanda Bell, and it was published May 24th, 2016. Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, and more may soon cross over from fiction to fact. You might have been surprised to find your news feed filled with stories about the scientifically confirmed existence of unicorns back in March. That's literally one I just did. That's why I'm doing this one. But for cryptozoologists, those who search for and study creatures whose existence has not actually been proven, this so-called discovery was a rather yawn-worthy affair indeed. That's right, unicorns' existence was only a surprise to you. And that's just the beginning. Cryptozoologists believe that there are many fictional creatures that are just waiting to be discovered. I don't know if I would say many fictional creatures, because to people like me who believe these things exist, they're not fictional at all. They're just undiscovered. But anyway, calling all Yetis, mer people, and Loch Ness monsters, now's your time to make yourself known. One beast that has cryptozoologists chattering is Gigantopithecus. Once again, kind of not a beast. It's an early human ancestor, so it was a lot more intelligent than a beast. So I wouldn't classify that as a beast. The now extinct ape was the largest ever known, and thanks to Disney's new concept of King Louie and Jon Favreau's update of the Jungle Book, is enjoying new popularity. And this here is a picture of the skull and finger bones of a supposed Yeti. It is on display in a monastery in Nepal. We did one of our first Bigfoot shows on staring. It was 2, maybe 3 years ago. We covered this skull cap and finger bone. And we told a story about how a guy went there and convinced the monks to allow him to examine them and just look at them because they're holy relics to the monks there. And finally the monks gave in and let him go check them out. And he kind of was underhanded because he cut off part of the finger and brought it back to be studied and all that. So after that, the monks were like, hey, ain't nobody doing that again. But anyway, if you want to hear that whole story in detail and all the gory details of it, go on to the YouTube channel and check out that episode that we did on Bigfoot. There's multiple episodes. It's on one of them. I believe the first one. Gigantopithecus is thought to be what the Yeti or Bigfoot might be. Lauren Coleman, director of Portland, Maine's one-of-a-kind International Cryptozoology Museum, explains to the Post. Coleman adds that the pop culture impact of the film's inclusion of that creature, above the ape or orangutan, as shown in previous imaginings of the classic tale, has been felt on his end. This is not a mythical creature. He's quick to specify. This is legendary. And now people are talking about it again, giving a mini boon to the interest in this possible Bigfoot brother. Beneath the smoke, there's fire. He explains of the cryptozoological imperative. What we're searching for are new species. Indigenous people report these creatures. They maybe use the words fantastic or monsters, but they really think that there's a real animal out there. And I want to say real quick, that is what I would classify Bigfoot, Nessie, all these cryptozoological creatures as, is animals. They're nothing supernatural. They're not some fairy tale creatures. These are simply animals that we have not discovered yet. Before you start chuckling at those holding out hope that these creatures have ever existed or might even still, understandable, given the prevalence of false sightings on YouTube or even prop staging of late. Consider some recent advances in the science. In 2003, for example, J.R.R. Tolkien might have rolled over in his grave to give 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up to the archaeological finding of Homo floresiensis, aka hobbits, in Indonesia's Flores Islands. Now, I did an entire episode of Staring into the Abyss about the Homo floresiensis, and it is a great episode. So if you have not seen it yet, go check it out. I think it was called The Real Hobbit is what I called it, I think. But it's on the YouTube channel. It's an episode of Staring into the Abyss, and it's an hour-long research paper, basically, on this species and how they found it and all the details of it. Very, very interesting. Very, very cool. So if you have not seen that, go check that out. It is proof that actual hobbits existed. It was a species of early human ancestor called Homo floresiensis. They were real. They found the bones. They existed. 100% hobbits were real. The hobbits were a very big deal because they were recently extinct, and they very much matched the stories of little people, the Menehune in Hawaii and some in Ibu Gogo, Coleman says. They weren't fairy tales or urban legends. Cue the Samwise Gamgee smile. The very next year, Japanese researchers recorded the first ever observations of a giant sea squid, release the kraken, in the wild. And in 2013, a fifth species of the tapir, the long-celebrated dream eater from Chinese and Japanese folklore, was unearthed. The list goes on. There are some creatures, however, that even those among this community of open-minded skeptics are willing to discount, although perhaps not entirely. Dragons, unicorns. Those might be based upon known animals and lore, explains Coleman, who adds zombies, ghosts, vampires, and aliens to the list of things not covered by his museum. Okay, I'm going to stop again. Zombies, 100% real. No, there's not hordes of them roaming the earth and killing you, but if you actually do some research, there are different procedures in voodoo and in hoodoo that are capable of making zombies, mindless human beings who follow orders and do anything they're told. They're zombies. 100% real. Ghosts. 100% real. I myself am on a paranormal team. Old Boy is on a paranormal team. We have seen ghosts. We have talked to ghosts. Ghosts are real. 100%. Vampires. Also real. Maybe not the sparkly Twilight vampires or the I want to suck your blood Dracula kind. 100% real, though. Check out the episode of Staring into the Abyss I did called What Are Demons and Where Do They Come From? In that episode, I proved the existence of demons, tell you what they are, where they came from. I proved the existence of giants, tell you their origin story, and the existence of vampires, and the origin story of vampires according to the Bible and the Book of Enoch and other ancient religious texts. 100% real. Aliens, 100% real. Our own government has declassified documents that have proven that not only have we recovered 3 separate crash sites at least of alien craft, but those crash sites had bodies in them. 100% real. So far, everything that they listed that's not covered by the museum is 100% real, and it is documented to be real. So let's get back to the article. But among the so-called legendary crew of creatures that might have foundation in a distinct species are merbeings and sea apes, which may be names for unknown cryptids. Chupacabras, the two-legged kind from Latin America, not those canine breeds out of Mexico. And Ogopogo, the British Columbia lake monster. Don't discount those just yet. A few in-the-work cases for Fantastic Beasts on the rise might cause a public suspension of disbelief within our lifetimes. The biggest, if you haven't already heard, of the orang pendek, a 3 to 4 foot tall hairy ape-like creature that dwells within the lost worlds of Central Asia. You might want to brace yourself for an onslaught in the coming years, because it's going to be a real doozy in the cryptozoology world. For the last 25 years, there have been consistently good reports, good sightings, good footprints, and also some hair samples. And I'd say we're within 25 years of a major anthropological discovery in that area, Coleman says. That will really shake up the anthropological world and the zoological world, and it will be an outstanding discovery. So does that mean there's hope for the Loch Ness Monster and Yeti enthusiast in the crowd? You bet. While there are an estimated 200 different potential species being studied by cryptozoologists at any given time, the discipline works hand in hand with anthropologists, zoologists, paleontologists, and everything else under the discovering sun. Even those so-called celebrity creatures are still definitely in the optimistic interest zone too. We're much more interested in whether or not reports of a Bigfoot or lake monster or unknown animals seen in the river might actually be related to new species, says Coleman, who adds that it's even a misconception to think there's just one breed of Bigfoot or Loch Ness monster roaming about. All the cryptozoologists worth their salt know that there's breeding populations of different animals out there. We're not evangelical about it, he adds. We don't really care if anybody notices what we're doing, because part of the work of cryptozoology is a passionate interest in animals, as well as an incredible amount of patience. And the reason we won't soon see a taxidermied version of Bigfoot, even if it is sighted by someone in the field, to eliminate all doubt. We're very much animal conservationists, too. Most cryptozoologists nowadays are not like John James Audubon or the Victorian era of zoology. They don't go out and shoot animals to prove they exist. We try for DNA sampling, live captures, and photographs. And I agree with that. I think that that's the best way to go about it, at least the most honorable way. But let's face it, there's nothing that beats a body. So even though I would never shoot Bigfoot or one of these creatures, it might be the only way that they are truly accepted, because the idea of live capture is almost impossible. That's never going to happen. At least it's very improbable that it will ever happen. So most likely a body's going to be how they're going to prove a lot of these things exist. Getting it on video or taking a picture of it is not going to do any good, because people are going to say it's a fake. They always do. I mean, there's tons of pictures and videos of Bigfoot already, and Nessie and all kinds of stuff, and still people say they don't exist. The areas that are considered habitat hotbeds for new species research right now, he explains, are those which have recently undergone political transformation, like Vietnam and Laos. The end of the Vietnam War, he said, opened up the floodgates for scientific research, leading to the discovery of new animals that were really kind of ignored during the war. Only after these conflicts really subside do you find that, oh, wait a second, let's think about the animal's attitude toward the scientific value of an area's fauna, he says. Central Africa currently lies within that artificial wall of human violence that prevents researchers from safely uncovering what hidden gems of animalia might exist within. One such at present is an aquatic rhinoceros that has been reported, but that is feared will become extinct before it's officially discovered. If that is the case, then it too will become a legend of what once was, but no less real. And that is the end of this article. Now, this last line is amazing, because basically you got this aquatic rhinoceros that is in danger of becoming completely extinct. And we haven't even proven that it exists yet. And if this thing goes extinct before we prove it exists, then it's going to be very difficult to prove that it exists. Now, if you find bones, you can say, well, it did exist at one time, but it doesn't exist now. But it says that it'll become a legend of what was, but it's no less real. That's so profound. So basically what that means is, just because we don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And if people are reporting that it exists, and you have legends of the local inhabitants that say it exists, and the local inhabitants tell you, yes, this thing is real, it exists, we've seen it, you probably ought to not dismiss it so easily. That's my main point. But anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. There are multiple episodes of Staring into the Abyss that we have done on all of these subjects that were covered in this article. I would suggest to you that if you have not already listened or watched them, then find them on the YouTube channel and check them out. They're really, really good. Basically, if you aren't listening to Staring into the Abyss every week anyway, then there's something wrong with you. Why not? I mean, it's a great show. It's full of amazing information. And literally every episode of Paranormal News I do just about, we've already covered a lot of those subject matters on Staring into the Abyss in a ton of detail. So if you haven't checked the show out, please give it a shot. and listen to it. I think that you'll really like it. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for all your love. I appreciate you, and I will catch you on the next episode. Until I speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do I. Bye-bye.